maybe a little bit contentious, and so purposely we waited until the last day, the afternoon, when everyone is really tired, so that now we can push through our grand redevelopment of the whole process without you being able to say no. And so I'm projecting this, and so I'm not taking notes. But this might be a good discussion to take notes on. So are there any people takers?
I don't have right access yet, but do you?
I can give you right access.
Don't forget to your Salzburg notes. Just edit access. I am. Send request.
Do you have a...
I just sent a request via mail.
So, where should we start? You want to start?
Do we talk about the development process now, or I mean, is the chosen?
I have ordered the things by votes, and so most of the things there's a number of votes for things that have to do with the process and the tooling that we have around that. And I think I tried to do some development day before yesterday, and I was also somewhat annoyed at the current process, and so I think it merits some.
Okay, so maybe I'll give 3 minutes. I talk for 3 minutes about how I view this, and then we can discuss, or I can present ideas. So basically, or maybe start with 2 minutes background. You please type me. So basically, why I would like to talk about this and get some conclusions is because one of the main reasons, and maybe the biggest reason for me not being active in the last years, is that there is quite some friction in getting things done, and part of that is, in my impression, due to the process and what it takes to contribute, to get the contribution through. So that's why I would like to help fix that. I think it's a matter of both changing a bit the tools and processes. So I mean, tools on one side and processes and how we work together on the other side. And I would also like to make LilyPond, contributing to LilyPond more accessible to people from outside our community, to bring in more new developers. I think this is the most important topic that we should discuss, because if it's the single thing we do, it will have the most impact, because in the end we'll get more people working. And so I am willing to commit to going back for the purpose of working on the process, of making it contributing easier. But I would like to have your buy-in. I don't have any specific, maybe I have a couple, but they aren't really thought through. So I don't have a specific proposal with details listed that you could vote on. But I would rather ask whether you would trust me with designing the process and picking tools that would help us with the process, improving the process. And I am pretty confident that I can make the process friendly to people, to like Hanwen and Kieran, and as I think they represent like two, maybe not exactly opposite, but distant points of the spectrum of the people who, from whom contributions would be welcome. I think that if I can get it right for the two of them, it will be generally right for most people, and I'm willing to commit to doing that. And I just need your buy. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
I buy in.
I buy into it.
Plus one. Yes, me too.
I can't buy into it. I don't know what I buy into.
I mean, the thing is, if I propose something like I propose to use a process or a tool like any kind, and there is a discussion, and because of course I'll be open to criticism, but if I propose something and like there is no conclusion that everybody thinks that something else is better, then will you follow what I suggest? I mean, I would like to ask you to make me the benevolent dictator of contributing process. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the decisions I'm going to make when informations arrive. I'm not someone who can do that. That's all.
But I can ask, do you trust Yannick to make sensible decisions? That is really what he's asking.
I cannot trust anybody, probably including myself, to make decisions that will meet all what I may think of when confronted with analyzing them.
But I don't think
But
that
if
gets
you
in
say
the way.
that no one can do it, then that is to me.
I don't say no one can do it. I say it. I have to see it to decide whether it is.
So,
Jared?
yeah, my question, just because I don't know the way that all of the parts interact. If David, let's say, just as an example, or no, David, let's say, as an example, doesn't answer this question in this moment with a concrete yes, and you go ahead and start to do the other thing that you tried to be the benevolent dictator. Is there a point at which you will be incapable of doing your job because of the fact that David said no?
If that would mean that a process I propose will be David, as an example here, and he's very important as one of the main developers. If he wouldn't follow the process and we would have two processes for everyone and the second process for David, then it wouldn't make sense.
Right, okay.
I mean, to give an opinion, I need to see what I'm giving an opinion about. It's as simple as that.
Do you already have an idea, Yannick, about...
I know one thing. I want LilyPond to be present in GitHub. It doesn't have to be necessarily the primary place where the code is hosted. It can still be hosted in Savannah, but I want contribution. I want contributing via GitHub pull request to be like the first class way of contributing. So that it's, I would really, I don't think what Werner said, that someone can send a pull request to the LilyPond GitHub repository and then someone else will take it and put it into some other code revision process, and then even other people would comment on that, and then the feedback would travel in some way. I think that wouldn't work at all. So
let me just say something to that. If you say you want the first class way of contributing to be via GitHub, the problem is that LilyPond is new LilyPond, and this new LilyPond title and the resources associated with that, the mailing list and the Savannah repository, come with a certain obligation to heed some of the new guidelines. And with regard to GitHub, there are some reservations. So if we, I think full buy-in on GitHub as the main way to contribute to LilyPond would be hard to sell to the GNU upstream, even though currently there are frictions between Stallman and the FSF that also need to boil out. But there are obligations we have that we also need to consider in that respect.
So I was there when we joined the GNU project, and first of all, there are many open source projects, free software projects that are very successful, and they're not associated with the GNU project. Second of all, you say that we have an obligation to the GNU project, but what has the GNU project done for us? I mean,
except for hosting all the mailing lists, except for hosting the repositories.
that is not an impressive amount of work.
Oh, it adds up. Except
I also want to say, of course, as I work in Garrett, I like Garrett, but what I really want is that we have a code review process that is integrated with our source code hosting, and that it's a process that uses tools that are run by other people. And so when we go on GitHub or GitLab, then there is a large firm, then we will be, if we're on GitHub, there's a million other developers that are also on GitHub. And so we will be in good company, and we'll get a sort of average, decent level of service.
Do you know off the top of your head what's the stance of GNU on GitLab?
I think it's better than GitHub is the current law.
But is better in this case good enough?
It is good enough is always one question. Good enough, I think, are both. They don't really like GitHub, but if the question is good enough, then either would likely be good enough, as long as we don't promote it as the main way of contributing a path via GitHub, even if it in effect ends up as the main way of contributing, would likely be okay.
So let me rephrase that. Would it be okay with GNU if we promoted GitLab as the main way of contributing?
I think yes, because they just don't have the resources to offer anything that's politically better.
Okay. Okay, so then maybe I'm sure that like moving to GitLab is better than keeping the processes and tools as we have them now.
Yeah.
Just to put it on the table, hosting an installation of GitLab or GT or anything like that is probably politically okay, but impractical and too unstable.
I didn't want to propose self-hosting because if we were to use the same resources, namely do it in Savannah, Savannah doesn't have the resources to entertain a GitLab server. They have the computational resources, they don't have the manpower. So when we say GitLab, and I say it would probably be considered acceptable, hosting your own version of GitLab would not be only merely acceptable, it would be pretty okay, except for what I learned, non-free Java code or whatever. JavaScript code, I think that's not that important, but we're talking about real hosting on a GitLab controlled server. And I think that would be in the range that would be nobody would be rather enthused about, but that would be okay.
So the GNU project or the FSF says that source force is forbidden, and ARM doctrine for open source.
SourceForge, they don't say it.
Really, yeah, you can go to the page you quoted this morning. It's Mark F. It's just not acceptable. And no one has come to us and said, oh, we're going to kick you out.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the problem was it was a short-term plan to use that, and we wanted to go self-hosting and it failed. And at least we tried.
I mean, the GNU project has, they like to impose all kinds of rules, but if they have actually very little power. They can say, okay, now you have to put your mailing list somewhere else.
So, yeah, they can move the mailing list and they can say, okay, don't call yourself GNU anymore, of course. And,
Okay.
but
They would, for example, rule us out from the GSOC.
From the what?
Google Sound of Code.
No, Google has nothing to do with GNU. So
Uh,
generally,
we will probably too small to apply on our own. That's what I mean.
I bet there's ways to find other organizations.
So I would like to pose a big question. I think that perhaps we can go with GitLab, but assuming GitLab didn't exist and GitHub is fronted on by GNU, if the choice was to don't go to GitHub and stay a GNU project, or stop being a GNU project, exit GNU and go to GitHub, which I believe will bring us much more, because the reduction in friction for contributing and the visibility to potential new contributors, I think it's really worth that. The things that we would lose. What would be your choice? I'm asking everyone. My choice would be to say goodbye to GNU and go to GitHub.
And of course, we don't decide anything like that.
Yes, we just
So,
hypothetical question.
So I can go first. I think the GNU, what I care about are the people that use LilyPond, and I don't think they really, like, to them, whether it's LilyPond or GNU LilyPond, it's all, they don't care.
Zero difference. There's zero difference. In all of my, nobody cares.
Nobody cares, and I care about the users, and so if we can get more contributions for our users by being on GitHub and then accepting the fact that GNU sort of takes away our trademark, then I'm fine with that.
but I mean, we can try it out. We can do a contribution path via GitHub and see how much comes in via that path before we decide to cut the ties with GNU. I mean,
we don't have to decide to cut ties, right? If they say, oh, you're evil because you're on GitHub and now you can't be.
So we can move, I'm sorry to clarify further. We could move to GitLab, or GitHub or whatever it is, and still call ourselves New LilyPond and go on for 10 years because they don't send us the cease and desist. Or a month after we move to GitLab, they could say cease and desist, and then
it's not as cut and dry as cease and desist.
No, but
it also is associated with what people decide. Okay, if I have to go to GitHub to contribute, then I won't do this. And there are people like that, like the other way around, of course. And
I'm not trying to clear. I understand that's a slightly separate issue. The contributors. I'm just from the legal, let's call it the legal standpoint. Being able to call ourselves New LilyPond. We could go to. You're offering we could go to GitLab or GitHub and not leave GNU until they ask us to. You're saying that's a possibility. Yeah. I mean, you're saying if we had to leave GNU, whether we're voting, which one we would choose, right?
Yes. I mean,
one thing I wanted to mention, there are things like the GNU packages that, like the packages for LilyPond that are available for Debian-based operating systems, and there is a certain tenacity and of people there is by now a lot of work involved because of the guide problems, and being a GNU project makes this system integrators at the current point of time more eager to actually do that work instead to decide, okay, then let's just drop it. And
So
those are soft things that may change, may not change. One doesn't really know. I mean,
Totally.
every major change will lead to changes in who wants to work. I mean, that's why we're doing it. We will not only win people, we might also lose people. And the question is how the balance works out
and each of us has to decide in our vote.
and how necessary it is to forego one for the other.
Exactly.
Well, we didn't, Yannick asked everyone to say, where do you stand on this issue? So you have spoken out, Kai has spoken out, Kieran has spoken out. Have you spoken out, or have you?
I would, if I had to decide for GitHub or GNU, then I would obviously decide for GNU for the simple reason that GitHub promises absolutely nothing. They can quit us any day, and GNU wouldn't do that because it would be publicity disaster. So for simple reliability reasons, I would choose GNU then. But I don't see that we have to choose.
I think it's just to get an impression of the atmosphere. But of course, it's not totally representative here. I'm sure, if I recall the discussions on the mailing list, there are a few of those who are really contributing who would fall very hard in this direction and would maybe say, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do anymore. Maybe.
Okay, I'm not answering but I think the question, but I'm bringing another piece of information. I'm involved also with Mac ports, and I'd like to tell you what happened to Mac ports with respect to hosting and backtracking. They were previously hosted at macOS Forge, which was supported by Apple, and they had hardware and software support by Apple. And then at some point, Apple decided to close down macOS Forge, and something was moved to GitHub and maintained by Apple employees, and something, including macOS, had to move somewhere without official support by Apple. It ended up having the main Git repository in GitHub, but the backtracker is in a self-hosted track instance, and for some time they were completely separated, and we had guidelines for contributors to always cite the GitHub pull requests in the track issue and the track issue in the GitHub pull request. But then someone wrote some bots for GitHub that took care of doing all of this automatically. So I think that it is possible, although I have no idea how much work it will be, but I think it is possible to have the current way of contributing as a mainly advertised way of contributing, so to comply with the GNU requirements, and having the GitHub mirror of the repository accepting bug issues and pull requests, and having bots that reflect those in the appropriate places in the official contribution path.
Just want to add something. Our current setup, I'm not defending it, it sucks. I mean, there's no question about it. We have to change that. I would be really love to say, okay, we now create a terminal dependency of the project and put all our issue trackers in a manner where we actually can easily get them out again into a server controlled by Microsoft, to put it bluntly. I think that that's a move I don't consider a good idea.
So
I wouldn't also if it meant that everything would exist only on the Microsoft Control server. But if we can have a let's say perfect application of the information in the
I
the
mean-
GNU control server and in the Microsoft composer, I don't see a problem in
I'm
The
pretty
one
sure
thing
the
is
issues can be exploited.
that the actual code repository, the Git repository is not really much of an issue because everybody has it on their computer. They can hang us off to, at one day and nothing gets lost. That's nice with the distributed version control system. But if we move towards some bug tracking system and issue handling system, then I think we should make quite sure that we have the ability to export the whole issue database that we're working with and move somewhere else, at least data, if not everything associated with it, without being hurt too badly.
Absolutely.
Do we have that capability now, this source forge thing?
It has exports, you know.
Do we do that now?
Do we do what now?
Regularly exported database.
No, it hasn't been yet done yet. It would, of course, be necessary once we decide to move elsewhere. Then we would want to move all that data. We have moved it in, and they have had exports for moving it out again. I think it has not always worked, but as the last situation I know is that it was possible to export this thing. I can check, or I can make an export the next days and make sure that we do actually have the issue tracker information.
You can do that on GitHub also. They don't have an export as far as I know, but an API to retrieve that. So in theory, it's pretty simple to write a script to pull all that.
Okay.
So I think also in principle, if you talk about GitHub and you say, oh, that's Microsoft, I don't trust them. Like GitLab is a venture capital backed firm, and like if they don't, they probably get bought out by some big name company at some point. But if they don't, and they run out of funding, then they turn up the service as well. And the GNU project, you think you get guarantees, but it's a bunch of volunteers. If someone cracks their server and erases all your data, then you're also in a really bad place.
Yeah, but
So I trust the GitHubs and the GitLabs of this world more because they're actually a large company with a profession that do this for a living, and so they have an incentive to keep the thing working.
Well, we obviously should keep backups.
And we should keep backup. Yeah.
Regardless of whomever we choose, we should have a backup. And I mean, what's most important in the project? People. People are most important. We can back up people. Everything else, I mean, source code is easily backed up.
I think Phil runs a private version of the software that's running on SourceForge. I don't know what it's called. And he does Aurora, yeah, something like that. He has a private version where he runs it on, which he synchronizes regularly, and he does his work with that local copy. So that would be more or less a full backup. I just remembered that, but I don't think we have a regular strategy for that. That's right.
I mean, so
I was just going to act like on when at this moment. Is there an actual? I was going to make sure that we were headed towards something that came out of a vote or.
Right. So we, if
Ideally now.
okay, thanks.
No, ideally now, so I can
Contribute.
Yeah, can contribute to a vote or anything.
okay, so
but we don't want to make decisions.
yeah, okay, so
Actionable things, but no final decisions
Yes.
today.
yes, so going back to my question about trust and my proposition that I will look over the contributing process. This is an example when there is no conclusion and no option that seems obviously best, and time is precious resource. Urs has to go now, but if he didn't have, it would still not be wise to spend unlimited amount of time discussing this. And in such cases, I mean, I would like, not because I like power, but because I like to get things done, and go on to the part of getting more contributors and enabling them to work. In such situations, if I were to look over the contributing process, I would like to be able to make a decision and to be trusted by other people and followed on that decision. Of course, in this case, like we're not making the GitHub decision now, and I would give it much more thought before that and check the backup options and so on. But would you be trusting me with something like that?
Since I'm going, I will make the first statement. From knowing him, I will put a very high amount of trust in Yannick's way of thinking.
Thank you. And then he agrees. Thanks for your course. Thanks for the conference.
Thanks for all your workers.
Speaking for myself, I would love any process that we have. There's high amount of friction involved, and I don't feel the need to vote on any specific process, but I'm willing to follow anything better than what we have.
I definitely want a better process that somehow allows me to get things out of my brain and into the community. And I would trust you to make a decision. I would trust you way more than me, that's for sure. So yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, Peter?
Yes, on the one hand, I'm with David. I understand your concerns, but on the other hand, if I want to contribute, I would appreciate such a GitHub solution so that I can just drop a pull request. Yes, I'm with you right now.
Okay. I trust you. I have all kinds of thoughts about how we should set up. I think a large part of the so I haven't done it up close for a while, but I think the tricky bit is that you actually, if you make changes to the backend, you have to run all of the regression tests and see if something is wrong, and that should be automated to some degree.
Yeah, it should be. I'm not sure what's the quota on the free continuous integration tests on GitHub, but there is some. So maybe we would be able to.
Yes, and maybe I think actually if we want to spend time in building our own tooling, then this is probably a part where we have to do something, because otherwise it's it might not fit well in what exists currently for other. I think it would be hard to do our regression test as a sort of standard job.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, one problem with, you say, continued integration tests is that part of our check suite is a visual test, and that has to be done manually. It is prepared by the computer, but the decision then in the end has to be made manually, that the certain changes are to better or to worse.
Yes, but it would be part of the code review is also manual. It's
exactly
someone that looks at it.
Yeah.
But they should also, when they do that, they should just have the regression output test next to it.
Exactly. And like clicking the merge button is also manual. Okay. Okay, so maybe Herman, I will ask you, because I'm starting with the people I know personally a little bit better. What would be your opinion?
My opinion.
Yeah, I mean, would you trust me to design the contributing process?
Design
the contributing process, to change the process of contributing?
In my opinion, I don't like GitHub. Simply because of Microsoft.
Me neither. I mean,
I don't have already, and that's my opinion. That doesn't mean I don't trust you. It's GitHub. And I have no problem with the current contribution process. And I don't know if it will really better look at that. But this I don't know. Yeah. And yes, I trust you. I trust David and several, maybe all people here. But I can't vote for.
us who'd like to say yes, let's do it, or no. I mean, not the GitHub thing necessarily, but I mean, I would really like to contribute, but I just need the confidence that I will not hit into like very long discussions that will make the process super slow, because that would simply be not efficient.
Then we need to figure out how we avoid long discussions that make the stuff
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Benevolent dictator. That's why I'm asking to be the benevolent dictator of this part.
Yeah. So can we maybe before we instead of having discussions like a plan or a rationale where we list out all the pros and cons and like you know, GitHub is Microsoft, we don't like them, we have no time to source force, it's written by GNU, and so we have and maybe that we know what all the trade-offs are, and maybe then it's obvious that there's only one. So my prediction is that we'll do GitLab because there's no one likes Microsoft. But it's kind of what we want.
Yeah, and I think regardless of which solution we actually more or less need to go to, that is different from the infrastructure what GNU finds itself able to provide. Well, we'll have to make sure that we can, in the case of necessity, get our issue tracker data out. The use of Git obviously means that getting the repository itself out should never be an issue.
Those requirements, we should just write them down, like this is a requirement, and then we can see, okay, well, GitLab has this, but GitHub doesn't, and so that's an easy choice.
Just to add another piece of information, there are already tools to extract all the metadata and metadata of the issue tracker, both from GitHub and from GitLab. So I think it could be doable to have some automatic backup of the issue tracker, let's say every week or not every day because maybe it's too heavy for the bandwidth, but I think we can manage to have a full backup of also of the issue tracker from those hostings.
Of course, the optimal solution would be that you could pick your poison, and that contributions to GitLab and GitHub would, with a slight delay, be equally possible.
Yeah, but then we probably don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to keep the discussion focused, do we want to talk about GitHub, GitLab, and the process and
I think
source hosting, or like my suggestion of me being taking care of the contributing process, because that's higher level.
It seems to me like if you believe that you're not wasting your time going forward, then we should just let you go forward and move on to other parts of the discussion. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point in splitting hairs now when we don't...
Well, we'll have to split hairs later. So, but as long as you don't feel like that pile of hair splitting is so daunting that you don't want to do this, and you're not going to have positive energy doing that job. If that's what you feel, then I don't think you should put yourself into the job. If you feel like that's a smooth path and it's likely to go smoothly down there, then great.
No, you wanted to say something.
No, well, I think we've discussed the whole GitLab, GitHub thing quite extensively, so I think we should, if we discuss something, we should do something with the name.
Yes. Okay.
I think I would trust you to work on this workable contribution process, but I think it would actually, in my mind, best to work on the actual contribution process and not get too worked up on the underlying infrastructure. That would be somewhat of a second step to look what's infrastructure providers, GitHub, GitLab, GNU, would support
So,
an ideal contribution process for us.
I agree that picking the exact provider is part of the implementation, but I think this particular choice is very important. I wouldn't like that's the only implementation part.
It's just as I we want to do GitHub polls. It's a bit backwards for me. I think you understand what I mean.
Okay, so we're going to the next topic.
Yes, so
It was communication.
maybe either
I mean, yeah, I mean, making it easier to contribute generally what I was talking about, so it encompasses everything. Because like the documentation and other things, I really think it's everything tied together. So I would also take care of that. So I think the communication or core direction. Maybe we can all vote. Like who's for discussing just the priorities, because we can discuss the other thing. So do we want to discuss first communication tools, so email versus chat, or the project directions like the new release guide and other things? Who's for communication? Discussing communication first. Okay, who's for the directions?
so I think what is on everyone's mind is the next release. What is blocking it?
This person here.
What is what tasks? What is missing from
We need to get the current state of the stable branch. I mean, there must. I have to still go through a list of commits that are in the unstable branch to see whether they need to be in the next stable branch because they fix important bugs. And in preparation for this conference, I got locked up. I need to pick up. I need to complete the lists. People on the mailing lists already have started doing a checklist of those commits as well and spreading their opinions. So it's not like there's a lot to do. I have to do it. If there's somebody else who says he assumes the responsibility of pricing the release 2.20 after checking that everything is in that belongs in there and nothing that might hold it up, I'm perfectly willing to yield that responsibility to someone else. But it's basically the current state that we have is basically what should be released. There may be still minor changes, but I don't think that we will do any changes in the support of binaries or platforms. The current set that is available there is, for better or worse, what we can reasonably deliver as 2.20. That means, for example, that 64-bit Mac executables will have to be delivered by communities like MacPorts, and we can at best point to them. The executables that we will deliver will be 32-bit executables, and for 2.20 at least PowerPC. I think we will. It may be appropriate to remove PowerPC support after the release, but still release it for 2.20. 2.20? Yeah, 2.20 it is. Yeah, that's basically there is not a whole amount of work this has to be fixed before we try something 2.20. The current state we have is certainly better in usability than 2.18, so there's not much of a point of delaying this
Right,
function.
so I hear you say that it's actually already ready, and if we want to be extra diligent, we can look at backwards master 2 state.
I think it's in a very good state, but one should make sure that there are no regression fixes that we've overlooked. The current top of the branch, for example, I had to revert a few patches I did, which turned out to where we did something wrong. I made a simplification that wasn't possible to work. The design just didn't work, and that I reverted. I think that's in current master, but it's not yet in 2.19.83, the last release, pre-release. So we need definitely another pre-release. My original plan was to tell Phil to roll it before the conference happens, so that we have at least an actual pre-release to talk about. I didn't make it in time to tell him that, but that would be the next thing. And I don't think there actually needs to be a delay before we get the next so-called unstable release, which actually is a pre-release for the stable release and is done from the stable branch. And in principle, 2.20 should not be farther away than about 2 weeks.
That's good news.
The problem is that I would have told you exactly the same 1 month ago. That's an annoying thing.
So I have a slightly different question. Can we release what we have now as 220 and then do 221 when we discover something missing?
Who will do that?
I mean, could you do this? Because I'm not sure if I.
The thing is, once this 2.20 is out of the box, I want to forget about it and turn to actually new developments. That means I want 2.21.0 release. I mean, it should have been released 2 years ago, actually, but shit happens. And then get on to make changes to a released version that are more invasive than what we are currently doing now. The development branch actually sees minor developments, but they accumulate. And I really want this out of the box, and that means that I probably won't care much about 2.20.1, and it would be good if we got some volunteer who said, okay, I'll try collecting those things which are really critical in 2.20 and make it 2.20.1. I'm looking forward to not maintaining the stable branch, which is by now almost a stale branch, actually.
What kind of branch?
Stale. So if anybody says, okay, I'll take over the stable branch after release or before release even, then I'll be game.
I want to focus on doing one thing.
Yeah.
Contributing process.
I just don't have the skills.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, you can just not do it, right? No one is forcing you to keep to do maintenance on the stable branch.
I mean, at some point of time we need. I mean, that's probably what it will end up with. We'll release 2.20 just to get the stuff out and then focus on moving towards 2.22 at some not so far distant future. Because apparently from the unstable branch, I think it's been years since there's been a release being made, and that's actually bad for development.
So couldn't you just do it?
Yeah, I say to just do
I
it.
say just do it. Pull the ripcord, whatever. Oh, you're pulling.
Push the button.
Push the button. Yeah.
Launch the grenade.
It'll feel so good afterwards. Open water, like on 221. And
So even if there are major bugs, I think the current 2.19 is far better than the 2.18 that in most distributions like Ubuntu are.
So let's put timeline on it. When I get back this evening, I'll notify Phil to put out 2.19.84 or 5, I don't know what 84 it is, right now. And then I don't know whether right now is something he can do, but it will probably take until next weekend until he does it. And then we say there will be 2 weeks of time where I can cherry pick things or fail to cherry pick things, and after that we will declare 2.20.
Yeah, I think that's good. Just whatever can be done in that period of time, great. Whatever
So
is not.
I say, Phil, go ahead, do the next pre-release, and we say 2 weeks after that we do 2.20, and
I'm all for it.
okay.
So the next thing in the development roadmap, I think it was Guile.
Yes, but yes. So I looked a little bit about. So David and I talked a little bit about Guile. The new releases of Guile had the unholy idea of making 32-bit strings, so each character takes 4 bytes of space.
The problem is, I mean, they didn't do this on a whim. The Guile standard basically declares that strings are arrays of characters, and that you can can modify them in place and replacing the characters, and that you can index them in constant time, and that if you want to follow the scheme standard, then you more or less have to do a fixed size representation. It's not just a whim, but it's a really bad fit for our situation.
I looked at the source code and it looks like we can. Well, so I had the impression that it's actually not a problem at all, because you can just pretend it's all Latin 1 bytes, and then you can't edit Unicode from scheme code, but you can't do that today either. So that doesn't seem a big loss.
Yeah, we could do that and see what kind of performance we get out of that approach, which is ugly as hell, but yeah, we could try seeing what happens when we do that.
when you say you can't edit Unicode strings, what kind of impact on users, or is that only an internal problem?
It means that if you have scheme code that tries to modify strings by adding or removing or modifying Unicode code points, that wouldn't work.
So
I do that all the time. I mean, I have titles in with some Unicode things, and I have other titles that I've tried to modify and pull apart and use scheme. I haven't done it on Unicode, but I imagine that's going to happen at some point in my.
Yeah, so you'd have to do a conversion where you decode the string from UTF-8 into their wide character, and then once you get back to the point, you have to encode it again.
Oh, okay. So if there's a way around it, it's just that I have to.
I mean, if you work with Unicode and LilyPond, you already have to use that way around. And in theory, Guile 2 would offer you a way around that, and it will just offer the way around that, and it may be that, I'm not sure whether the regular expression engine And other stuff will be happy with this everything is Unicode approach, but we just have to try.
Question, why there's so much traffic of strings between C++ and Guy?
Because there's so much traffic of control flow between C++
Well, I mean,
and Guy.
But why strings, not other thing?
Like if you want a character, then you make the name of the character, and that's a string, and then you give that to a team that looks up the character in the font, and so that's a string, and so most of these
every name,
Lyrics.
every lyric, every name in the source code or so, the string partly converted to symbols, partly not. So there's a lot of data that just by nature is strings, and if you pass it around between C and Scheme, then it has to be converted every time. Actually, it's been pretty fast to just in Guy 1, and it's not as fast in Guy 2. That's one thing that is posting performance. We have to check. Hanwen is right. We could just pretend that everything is able to Unicode and see how far this gets us, and it will also give us an estimate of what the engine does. Another thing is that Guy1 by nature is an interpreter. It always interprets expressions when you pass them into, and Guy2 compiles into an intermediate representation. We have lots of ad hoc code, and one has to see whether this kind of ad hoc combination that is implied there, whether this may also contribute to our current performance problems. But that's something we have no hard data on right now.
Are there other issues concerning the I2 besides this string fonting?
We'd have to check. There were memory allocation issues and memory model issues that have been solved in the past in the course of one change per year about that were real roadblockers. I think that most of them are at least under control, where one could try checking out what causes them. We're in a position where one would need further experiments.
And is there any political situation like committing to Guy, the same way that GitHub and whatever, or is it all the same developer and we trust that developer to continue faithfully for the next 20 years?
The project is not working well out. You have one head developer which is mainly interested in compiler development and which works alone on the unstable branches without communicating much with the others. And there have been considerable conflicts because bug fixes don't make it into the development branch and then get stale at some point of time. And regarding political fallout, that actually should, it's a nuisance that one has to think about that. The head developer of Guy is one of those persons who have published a manifesto against Stallman and tried to deceive him. So there's an internal
I
power
signed
fight.
that manifest as well, and so did Jan. So if there's political fallout from that, then
We're in it anyway. Okay, so it's not just the strings, but the biggest technical issue is the strings that you know of.
That is one of those I know of that cause problems, and I think it's one of those that cause known current problems, but I'm not, I cannot swear that the majority of our performance problems are that. That's what I suspect, but I have no hard data to go on, and for that reason alone, Hanwen's proposal to just tell a guy everything is 8-bit, trust us, is certainly one way to try to move forward and at least get more knowledge about what causes the current slowdowns of Guy 2.
And that happens before committing to change to from Guile 1.8, or because that's the question on whether we branch 1.8 or we move to.
No, we have very, in principle, Guile 2 is operatable. I think there are a few commits on top, but they are very sparing. So it's not a lot of difference of getting Guile 2 to run and Guile 1 to run with the current code base. It's just getting Guile 2 to run well is something we have not yet managed convincingly.
Right. Okay.
Maybe I can give some input. I keep track for Guile development and usually try out new Guile releases and our projects. We have some branch about Guile 2 work, and on the top of this I have some not published patches, more workarounds, which made my last try successful in some way. I didn't try Guile 3 yet, it's released Thursday. No chance. But I noticed in my last attempt a certain problem that my test baseline didn't work out. But I suspect as a white string, you patched it a few days before. Maybe it will work.
I think it
I don't
made it
know.
actually.
I don't know. I haven't tried yet. No. And what I like with Guile is the string representation. If you display the character set of Guile 1, that is very small. Do it for all characters. Guile 2, Guile 2 have this is a million. And so it's very convenient for users to poke into strings and reposition and substring, whatever. This is impossible or great inconvenience with Guile 1. But it is one major drawback currently is a huge slowdown. Last try was factor 2 or factor 3. That's heavy. For you. And I think you mentioned it already, the pre-compiled possibilities of Guile 2, Guile 3. We had, at least I myself, had no good idea how to implement something like that in the that's right.
Sorry, there's a huge, so you're saying it's super slow with Guile 2 and I don't know how to fix it, or if there's the possibility to do pre-compilation, but I don't know how we should use that in
The problem is that Guile 2 works with a byte compiler, and the byte compiler works with byte compiled files which are written on disk files, and getting these pre-compiled disk files integrated into LilyPond is just hard to do because we use the compiler differently than a Guile application that the Guile developers imagine uses it.
We could,
Don't forget, I mean, use it over there.
we could, so for the people, the things that people write as user extensions, we could just not pre-compile them, but we only could pre-compile only like the included scheme files.
I think if we have separate drop-in files that are if we make an input mechanism for scheme files, then pre-compiling that would likely work easier than figuring out than what we do with pre-compilation with our current fixed code base.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I say it's probably easier to figure out how to integrate pre-compilation with user extensions than it is how to figure out how to make use of pre-compilation for our current code base.
I I think it's the opposite because our current code is already compiled. And like we could do the pre-compilation, the bytecode compilation as part of the compilation stuff.
Oh, good luck. Feel free.
So why it's a problem?
Yeah, you have to figure out where to put the files. You have to figure out when to create the files. You have to figure out how to put them in the load path of Guile, and that's for the actual scheme files, and how to make sure that when Guile tries to pre-compile them, that it has the required dependencies so that it actually can pre-compile them. Because if there's just a naked file, it doesn't pre-compile without the dependencies. The dependencies are not explicitly listed, and are partly dependencies that are in the LilyPond core itself. So it's just a mess to figure out.
I see. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, the pre-compilation happens at a different time and under different circumstances than actually running your code would, and getting this different time and place in workable, and finding a place where the precompiled stuff should be dropped instead of where Guile chooses to put it by default. It caches them in some user local directory so that the first calls are slow, and then it becomes increasingly faster if you do byte compilation, but which we currently don't because it doesn't work because of dependencies. So we need to figure out how to pre-compile the stuff instead of having it done on the fly, and install it and put it and include it with the installers and still allow modifications. Okay?
Yeah, I have a question because I will have to go in about 10 minutes. Because I'm not sure what's the takeaway for now. What action can we do? Is it just a matter of someone spending some more hours and it will be done when it's done, or is there some corner that we could cut, and it's a decision, and we could make a decision to cut some corners, or something else?
Well, we can cut corners at the cost of having probably half the performance. I mean, we have a cut corners available in the code base right now, and the quest, and it's not clear what doing this properly would entail, and how much would actually deliver for our purposes. I think the actual benefits will probably be not all that excessive, since we don't really run our inner loops in Guile, but at the end, on the other hand, the slowdown is pretty awful, and the slowdown has to come somewhere. So it may be that it has to do with the compilation stuff, but it also may that it has to do with the changed string representation or changed memory allocation. But I don't really know where the slowdown comes from.
Can we get the people from Guile to take a look at this?
We tried over the years several times, and it's not all that hard to get promises. So you tell the people what they should check out, what they should install, what they should compile, and that's usually the end of the communication.
So was it because it was hard for them to actually try compiling LilyPond, or they were not they didn't do actually anything at all?
I think it was just an overwhelming amount of I need to do this, and I really don't want to do this. I think it was just that they thought it was easier, or it would take less time than it does. And yeah, I got several things in these C++ memory interfaces fixed by creating examples that did not include LilyPond at all, but that were just crushing C++ code. I had a few fixes when I was able to boil the problem down to a pure C problem, but the performance thing, I don't know how to do that.
Okay, we're at 5:30 roughly.
Would have one more question pertaining to this. I noticed that from a user perspective, with Ubuntu 18, Guile 1.8 is not any longer part of the repository, of the standard repository.
Yeah.
Will this also inhibit in any way regular users?
Not all that much. One consequence of this is that Guile 1.8 is now folded into the LilyPond distribution and is an integral part. What that means is that extension libraries for Guile that were previously available, like readline library or like XML parsing libraries, will no longer be able to work together with LilyPond because they are only available with for Guile lib 2.0. So that's the take out, the extensibility of the Guile universe that that users could potentially profit from, though I don't know from any that did, will no longer be there. That's the main fallout.
As a user on the problem, I fetch the current package and I get Guile 1.8 as part of this LilyPond package.
Yeah. It's not even installed, it is not a separate package, but it is an integral part of LilyPond.
Okay. Unless you are using exotic function calls within scheme.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Did we come to a final decision on
With regard to the Guile thing, I don't think we have come to a final decision. We have more or less come to look at the situation, and if anybody wants to pick up from there and try his hand at the current state, of course, that's certainly welcome. Harm is the one who's probably most knowledgeable about the current state of compatibility.
I would suggest to simply test the approach with material first, before we decide. We can decide anything. Maybe it works, maybe not. I don't know.
Sorry, can you repeat which approach?
I suggested to test with this 11.1 encoding whether it works or not.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can. We'll start when I'm back at it.
I mean, basically telling Guile 2 pretend that you're Guile 1 and see where that gets us. At least that might give us a feeling for how much of the problems we're having are string related of the performance problem, and much of the problem might have different sources. Maybe I have been barking up the wrong tree for a while.